Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Immigration Talk Show. You're watching Daily Immigration Doors at 4 p.m. EDT, and I'm your host, Sam. And before diving into the topic, let me read out this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you understand that the information shared, including user comment, is not a professional advice. So use at your own risk. Our intention is never to offend, it's just a casual exchange of ideas. All right, with that, friends, once again, welcome back to Immigration Talk Show, and you're watching Daily Immigration Doors. And we are live on YouTube, available on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram as well. If you haven't followed us on these many platforms, then do share, like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. And also participate in this webinar. Ask any question or anything that you want to, ask regarding your immigration journey. And coming back to our today's topic is another very important one and a very interesting one. That is, can you work remotely outside the US while on a US visa? So, friends, whenever we talk about working remotely, we always think about three things in our mind: that to have a laptop, to get a good Wi-Fi connection, and to have a cup of coffee. And that's all. You're all set. But as it sounds simple, it's not that easy. And that too, when we talk about working remotely outside the US on a US visa, it is very complicated. It is very tricky. And I think you are in the right platform because in this webinar, we are going to actually get into the topic and we will understand what are the different instructions that you have to follow if you want to work remotely outside the US on a US visa. And for that, I have my co host Napasa Pradhan also here. So, hi Napasa, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you had a great day, right? As there were two very great webinars lined up.
Yes, I did have a good, productive, and a busy day, Sam. So it was great because we had two amazing immigration attorneys join us for two different webinars, and we discussed on two major topics. So I hope that folks out there did not miss out on any of them. But even if you did, friends, the best thing is that you can still find them here on Immigration Talk Show. That's our handle. Go check out on YouTube, and you will find the webinar we had with attorney Prashanti Reddy, the surge and the new RFEs in this H1B cap season. And you don't want to miss out on the information shared. And just some time back as well, I did have another webinar with attorney Justin Rivera, another very, very important discussion. So, yes, attorney Justin Rivera from Wasden Immigration Litigation. We spoke about so many things like RFEs, the CBP, and just go check out. There's so much important information you don't want to miss out on. And yes, you heard it right about the biometrics that they are asking applicants also, and also the address change. And certainly there has been different new changes which are leading to new sorts of RFEs, and you don't need to stay behind. You really need to update yourself. So go check out these webinars and also keep watching us here at Immigration Talk Show, because here in Daily Immigration Dose as well, we're going to discuss today about this thing that's been trending, especially since COVID, right, Sam? I mean, we've been hearing a lot about remote work, and many people started working and they started their own businesses, their own firms maybe, and they have started working from their own kitchen table or their own homes. We see that this trend has been set since COVID, of course, and even after the pandemic ended, people are still opting to work from home. They still want to work from home because of so many other things. They need to attend to their family, first off, maybe some health issues, so on and so forth. And if you look, especially that you maybe we are all living sort of a very normal life here in the US, maybe on an H1B, L1, or even OPT. We've got our dream job, maybe we are settled in, everything is going so well, but then one day suddenly you wake up and your family needs you back home for a while. Maybe they don't know how long would they need you. Could be an emergency or something like that, god forbid. But you're thinking whether you can take your work back home. Can you work back from your home country for a few months at least? I know it sounds simple today, but in today's world, remote work is also everywhere. And today we're going to discuss on certain things that we really need to keep in mind. especially with regard to working remotely outside the US, while still holding a US visa, that is. So, yes, it might really surprise you, but stay with us, friends. There is so much to unfold here today in this discussion we are going to have. So, yes, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are here with us, please feel free to also join us on comments, whatever you need to tell us. Maybe you are also working remotely, holding a US visa. Tell us about your job, or tell us how has the experience been. Have you faced any issues? Or maybe call us on this number 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. Join us, friends. We would love to know your story. But
That's
yeah, so before we head on with the discussion, should we go with the news updates first?
absolutely. I think let's go ahead and let me go ahead with the news update first. Okay, so friends, this is the news from my end, and that is about H2B cap reached for early second half of fiscal year 2025. So let's see what this news is all about. So there's a big development that affects many seasonal workers and US employers, and that is that the H2B visa cap for returning workers has officially been reached for early second half of fiscal year 2025. Let's break down what that means and what happens next. So on April 23rd, 2025, USCIS has announced that it has received enough petition to meet the cap for 19,000 additional H2B visas that were made available for returning workers. And these visas are for job start dates between April 1 and May 14, 2025. So if we also talk about what returning worker mean, then it refers to workers who have previously held an H2B visa during one of the last three fiscal years, not one or two, but three fiscal years. And these are not new applicants, but individuals who have already contributed to the US workforce and are now returning temporarily. Well, these 19,000 additional visas were made available under the fiscal year 2025 temporary final rule, often referred to as the H2B supplemental cap rule. And the final date for petition submission was April 18, 2025. That means no more petitions for this specific group will be accepted beyond that date, beyond April 18th, 2025. The H2B visa is especially vital for industries like landscaping, hospitality, seafood processing, and also for construction, where employers often rely on temporary workers during peak season. It's also important to note, friends, that this was a temporary increase in addition to the regular H2B cap, which is set by Congress each year. So while this allocation is now closed, other H2B categories may still be open, depending on your worker's origin country and job start date. So you have to be aware and you have to keep yourself updated regarding this. And for those looking for more details or next steps, I would suggest USCIS has updated its page on the temporary increase in H2B non immigrant visas for fiscal year 2025. So, there you can find the eligibility rules, filing tips, and also remaining allocations for other worker groups. That's all for today's update, and I hope this update is really going to be helpful for you. And if you want your friends or any one that you want them to be updated with these very important information, then also share this and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. And this was the news from my end. And Nepasa, please go ahead and let us know about the other news update.
Sure, Sam. Thank you so much for that important news update. And friends, the news I want to share with you folks is, some states are seeking to ban driver's license for those in US illegally. And you really need to keep this in mind. So, yes, I mean, when you talk about the driver's license, right, it's about identity, policy, and the roads we all share. So maybe you can picture this that you've built a life here. You go to work, pick up your kids from school, do your groceries, and just like anyone else, you drive. But one day the law changes, and suddenly that simple right to drive becomes a question mark. So that's exactly what is happening right now in several Republican led states where lawmakers are pushing new legislation that would ban undocumented immigrants from obtaining or using the driver's license. So, yes, now to understand this shift, we just need to look at how things stand today. 19 states and territories, including including California, New York, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C., currently allow individuals to obtain a driver's license regardless of immigration status. And the goal is promote safer roads by ensuring all drivers are trained, tested, and insured. But in states like Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, and Montana, that policy is facing serious backlash. At least nine Republican led states are either not recognizing licenses issued to undocumented immigrants or are actively introducing legislation to ban them altogether. So in Alabama, Senator Chris Elliott didn't mince words. He suggested putting up signs at the state's borders, telling immigrants to turn around and go somewhere else. For many, these laws are more than just policies, they send a message, and that message is being heard loud and clear. Well, critics also warn that, this could more harm than good. So Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, an immigration attorney in Texas, also says that these laws could create a chilling effect on tourism and economic activity. In states like Florida, where immigrants support industries like construction and hospitality, this could hurt everyone, not just undocumented individuals. Even fellow lawmakers are, speaking out. Alabama State Senator Linda Coleman Madison raised concerns that these bans could, unfairly impact visitors and tourists, catching them in legal gray zones, during vacations or even business trips. So then there is the issue of public safety. The National Immigration Law Center says that stripping away licenses doesn't remove undocumented immigrants from the roads. It just means, you know, they'll be untrained, unlicensed, and uninsured while driving. And that, they argue, make roads more dangerous for everyone. So the debate is raging on for sure. And on the one hand, states like California, Illinois, and New York continue to recognize the importance of offering licenses as a matter of public safety and practicality. But on the other hand, states like Florida and Oklahoma, they argue that issuing licenses to non-citizens sends the wrong message about immigration enforcement. So at the heart of it all, it is sort of a deeply divided country trying to figure out how to balance security, compassion, and common sense. So that's the road we are on right now. And the issue, affects not just the undocumented, it affects families, businesses, tourists, and safety of every driver on the road. So I wonder, what do you think about this? And should driving be a right tied to citizenship or a responsibility tied to safety? Think about it and let us know, what do you think in the comments. You can comment wherever you're watching, or call us in this number, 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988888. So that is the news update, friends, the latest I could give you right now. And yes, thank you for tuning in. It's very important to stay updated. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel at Immigration Talk Show, because we bring you the latest on US immigration. So that is it. And that's it, Sam.
Yeah.
I think, yes, we should definitely get to our topic of discussion, which is super important today. But before you give us a short introduction to our topic, I just want to say hello to Supriya and Nayan. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are surely going to read out your comments very soon. Stay with us.
That's right. And friends, I think, Nepasai, we talk generally only like working remotely, not on US visa, but like generally, in any country. Then we all want, whether you're working like for 4 years, 5 years, all throughout the time working from office, at least once in a year, once or once in 2 years, I would say that they needs to be in front of their family or needs to spend some time with their loved ones. So it's a very necessary kind of things, and especially when we talk about homesickness, then that's huge. And that too when somebody is working in the US, it's very
Yeah.
hard for them to stay so like far away from their families and friends, and they can't even come and attend any family function or anything, their birthdays or maybe any
Yeah.
festival, something. That's a very hard thing for them. But I think if they are going to get to know like what are the requirements, and if they'll have a proper knowledge about the instructions, like what are the consequences and what can be the instructions and the requirements if you want to work remotely on a US visa, then I think the process will become a little easier for you. And of course, it will be a little less complicated for you. So I think it's very important to have a proper knowledge regarding all the things, and you have to be ready with every consequences, that can happen. So, of course, as we always say, that you have to stay update, you have to stay aware regarding everything that's happening in immigration. And for that, friends, you are on the right platform. You are right now on Immigration Talk Show, where we share these insightful updates and most important news as well, so that our viewers don't miss out any important update. And with that, if we talk about like, can you get the remote work outside the US on a US visa? Then I would say that it depends. It's not exactly yes or a no. It depends upon different criteria. Depends upon like maybe how long you have been working in the US, or how is your employer's policy, right? Or most importantly, what is your visa category? So it depends on different pointers. It depends on different situations as well. And some visa categories allows like a good time of remote work, whereas some visa category doesn't allow that much. But of course, different requirements are there, which we are going to understand in each in a very detailed manner. So, but before diving into the visa categories, I think let's get into the second part of our today's webinar, and that is about what exactly is remote work mean. So, I think Napasa, if you could just give us a quick brief on that topic, then I think that will be a little more easier for our viewers to understand the whole topic about.
Sure, Sam, I will do that. But many folks out there could be wondering if you can actually work remotely outside the US while still holding a US visa, right? And it might really surprise you, but the answer is not really very straightforward, actually, because there are compliance risks, there are payroll complications as well, tax liabilities, and even visa maintenance issues, right? Everything involved. So before you really think of packing your bags and log in from another time zone, I think we really need to explore the rules, what they really say, especially now, there are new rules coming in as well, and what you absolutely need to know to protect your status, your career, and yes, like Sam has said, what is actually, what does remote work outside the US really mean? First off, you all know what a remote work is. A remote job is basically where you do not need to go to the office. You're logging in from a system, and you have good internet connectivity, and you are working. You know, that is mainly it. But when you talk about remote work outside the US, it means working for your US employer while you're abroad, whether visiting family or traveling. And this can last for a few weeks, maybe months, or even longer. So, for example, let me just tell you that on an H1B visa, when you go to India for 2 months, but you keep working remotely. So it sounds simple, but there are a few issues involved in this as well. So immigration and visa status is first thing. So most US work visas, they require you to work in the US, and if you work remotely abroad too long, then USCIS could question whether you're following your visa rules, and you might need to file an H1B amendment of if your location really changes. And talking about location changes, you really need to update not just your office, or not just the concerned people you are, whether it is people in the US, who you're dealing with, your house owners, but also the USCIS, where they need to know that your location has changed, or you're going to be somewhere, even if it's just for a few months. But if for some reason they need to find you and they don't find you in that location, it's going to be troublesome. So you really need to update so many people on this. So mind you, friends, address changes you really need to update, especially also the USCIS now. And next, we also have tax and employer policies, right? Working abroad can actually trigger tax obligations in the foreign country, because some countries may treat your employer as having a business there if you stay too long, leading to potential tax issues for both you and your employer. So that's why, many employers, they limit remote work abroad, usually to under 30 to 60 days, just so that, these tax issues do not arise, and they know that you're actually still working for that employer in the United States, right? So yes, that is there. Of course, you must have also heard about hybrid jobs, where you have to work few months from the office, few months from the home, or few months from the field. I mean, wherever you may be transferred to, for a few months. So there are those kinds of jobs as well. But this is very, very certain that you really need to let your offices know about your whereabouts. Okay, so whichever location you are situated, you're going to work, you really need to let them know. So that was, I think, I hope that was clear, by the way, what working remotely, outside the US really means. And
Absolutely.
yeah, Sam. So, Sam, if you could also tell us, under an H1B visa, what's allowed? I mean, when you talk about remote work, right?
That's right. And I think talking about H1B visa is a must because everyone is crazy for H1B visa, and they want to know like what's going to happen if they want to ask for remote work regarding the H1B visa. So, friends, let me tell you, if we talk about H1B visa, then it is designed for foreign workers in specialized jobs. And when you apply for this visa, both your employer and work locations are specifically mentioned in your application. It is actually an employer specific visa. Employer specific, as in this mean you can only work for the employer who sponsors your visa. And if you change employers, you need to apply for a new H1B visa. And location specific means location where you will be working is also listed in the application. And if you move to a different location or job site, then your employer may need to file an update or amendment with USCIS to make sure that your visa is still valid. But friends, there are still options regarding H1B visa. So let's take a look firstly on short term remote work abroad. So this means if you want to ask for a short period of time to have a remote work in the H1B visa, then what and how you can do it. So it's usually okay. There's nothing like you have to go with lots and lots of process. Let's say like you have to travel to your home country for around 2 to 3 weeks, not more than that, to attend a family wedding or any other family function. And you still have to work in the US hours. Most employers and immigration officers won't question that because for 2 to 3 weeks, it's somehow not that questionable. And it also considered temporary and doesn't change your work location in the eyes of USCIS. And also, this was the thing about for short term means maximum like 2 to 3 weeks, not more than that. So for 2 to 3 weeks, you are at least having that benefit that you can get a work from the home by working on the US hours. And if we talk about for long term remote work abroad, then this can be little problematic. I won't say little problematic because by also taking today's scenario, current situation, the things can like turn into more in a devastating way. So it's better not to go with the long term one because the Department of Labor and USCIS approved your job based on the work being done in the US and not on the work that you are going to do remotely. So it shouldn't come under the eyes of USCIS as they are okay to approve for like few days but not for a longer period of time. including the local wage conditions, job duties, and locations. These three factors are very important for the H1B visa holders. And if you stay abroad and work for several months, then it could lead to questions like, are you still maintaining the H1B status? So this shows that your status, that will be questionable, because the meaning of the H1B status only means that you have to leave your home country and go and work in the US, employer specific work and everything, that has been asked from the company on that particular job site. So if you're not going to work on that basis, then of course your status will come in danger. And also the other question will also be there, that has the employer notified USCIS of the new location? So it's not just you who are going to be answerable, but also the employer who sponsored you. They also have to notify USCIS of the new location if it's going to be like extended more after 2 to 3 weeks. Also, are US labor protections still being followed? So these are the questions, that can be considered, and you may fall into trouble. So, what's the safe move? I would suggest, friends, that you have to talk to your employer before making any plans. Don't just, pack your bags, tie up your shoes, and get ready to have a family wedding or any other function. You have to be very careful with each and every plan that you make. Of course, it feels little emotional whenever any function or any, wedding things happen in your home, but you have those things prior, you plan everything, and always get in touch with your employer for any issue, because they are the one who are definitely going to guide you. And they may need to file an H1B amendment if you want to go and work remotely. Also, they have to notify the Department of Labor to have a proper smooth process. And also they have to evaluate if the job is still valid while you are abroad. That means your job should also be able to work remotely. If your job has to work like from office, then you may lose a chance to get remote work. And some employers simply don't allow it, as like not for immigration reasons, but of course for tax and legal compliance in other countries as well. So I think talking about whether a clear answer, no, there's no clear answer to it. There's always a gray part to it. Some conditions can be applicable. As for shorter term, it's a yes, but for few days and few weeks, and for longer terms, of course, it's a big no, and it will be a very problematic kind of thing. So this was about the H1B visa category. I hope, friends, this has been little helpful for you guys. In case if you still have any other question, or want to know more about the topic, then please go ahead and put them in the comment section. Or do one thing, like instead of putting them on the comment section, you can directly come up with the dialing number that is just on top of your screen. 425 with the access code 988888. Join us on call and also let me know about your status or any question that you have in your mind, and we will definitely take them up. Until the time, if you haven't subscribed to us yet, then make sure to subscribe to our channel right now, not later on, right now. All right, so Napasa, I think this was about the H1B visa, and I'm sure most of our viewers are, holding the H1B visa. So I hope that this have been helpful for them. And why don't you go ahead and also talk something about student, right? The F1 visa, the another very popular one. So please
Right.
go ahead and shed light on that as well.
Right, Sam. Absolutely. Like you said, it's popular, especially lately. I know students out there, whether under OPT or CPT, I know you have a lot of questions, and I think let us talk about it now. So, for F1 students who are on OPT, that is optional practical training, or CPT, that is curricular practical training, there are common visa categories. These are some of the most common visa categories for international students in the US to work after graduation on their or during their studies. So the big question is, what happens if you work remotely outside the US while on OPT or CPT? Let's concentrate on the short term remote work outside the US first. Generally, it's okay for short term. But if you are an F1 student on OPT or CPT and you travel abroad for a short period, working remotely from outside the US is usually fine as long as you maintain your student status and your employer is okay with it. It's very important that these two are maintained. And if you look at it, an example could be, imagine that you are an F1 student working in the US under OPT, and you go back to India for a family event for, say, about 2 to 3 weeks. And as long as you're still working for your US employer and keeping up with your job duties remotely, you should be okay. Um, and you really need to make sure that you are still on your F1 status, and this won't likely cause any issues. Then, there could also be a danger zone for long term remote work. So, if you look at it, it's sort of risky, and the big risk if you talk about it, because if you stay abroad longer than a few weeks, things get complicated. For example, if you're an OPT and you decide to work remotely for several months from your home country, this could be considered a violation of F1 status, because if you think about it, maintaining your F1 status on OPT or CPT is that you must be very actively engaged in practical training in the US, or at least directly related to your field of study, even if you're working remotely. So this has to be maintained. And if you really need to keep in mind, it is actively engaged in practical training. That is very, very important. And if you're out of the country for way too long, you might no longer meet the conditions of your F1 visa. So yes, your CVIS record, that is your student and exchange visitor information system, could be marked as inactive, and that is going to be super risky, which you do not want to happen to you. It's going to get ugly after that, right? So let's not lose that. It's very important to stay active more than inactive, okay? Keep that in mind. So, what's the safe way to work remotely while abroad is short term remote work. Just a few weeks, that should be okay, but always keep your service record active. Very, very important, okay? And if you plan to stay abroad for longer than that, then it is going to be risky, critical to talk about your I mean, you really need to talk to your DSO or get your school and get their approval at least, because they may need to update your service record, or you may need to apply for OPT STEM extensions if applicable. And you really do not want to risk all of that, especially that you have not only spent a lot, whether it's fees you're talking about, but it's also your time, your efforts, and you don't want all of that to go on vain just because of your visit to your home country, and you're overstaying few weeks. So keep it short, if even if you do that, and stay out of risk. That's all I can say. And Sam, I think that is what I can say for F1 students. But also, if you can tell us more, because there are folks out there who could be on green card, who could be green card applicants, and maybe they are on adjustment status. So why don't you tell us, about situations? What should they do?
For sure. I'll definitely go ahead. But before that, I think let's also greet our viewers. Supriya is here, Nayan is here, Sanjay is here. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. And it really feels so good, to have your comments and have your thoughts in our comment section. So go ahead and ask more and more questions or share anything. It's not compulsory to ask something. You can also tell us something or inform us anything about your status or what you're feeling right now, or if you're in the US, then how's the situation right now, anything. There's so much to talk about. So I think let me go ahead and take up one of the comment. I think let's take Supriya's comment, and after that I'll continue with mine. So Supriya is saying, if I want to work remotely, why I need a USA visa? There are many companies giving the option to work remotely. All right, I think okay, that's a little smart one, Supriya, I would say that. But I think that's good. It depends upon you if what are the benefits. Of course, if we talk about US companies, then US companies have different benefits, different advantages that maybe not other companies provide. And until and unless you're not working under the US company, then I think you won't understand the exact perks and benefits, what they provide. And I think you can go ahead. It depends upon you, your choice. I mean, which makes you more comfortable and where you are happy. And anything, whether if you are a person who wants to be more at your home than with your family, then go ahead. I mean, nothing wrong to work remotely and nothing wrong to work in the other company, except USA. So I think that's all I can say. And what do you think, Nabasa? Please let me know what's your call on.
I think Supriya missed the intro we had, right, about working outside the US while still on your US visa. So, of course, I mean, I totally get Supriya's point that there are so many employers out there who are giving out working from home or working remotely. You know,
Mhm.
it's very, very in right now because of so many situations, and especially for women who need to be with family, right? So Supriya, it's totally understood, and you can always opt for all those sort of jobs. But what we're talking here is about remote work outside the US, which means working for your US employer while you're abroad, whether you're visiting your family or traveling. And the how long it can last, maybe for months or weeks or longer. So this is the situation, and we are talking about today, where we are holding a US visa, we are holding a US job, and we want to opt for working remotely for a few months. So that is what we're talking about today. But yes, of course, if you want to work remotely, why do you need a US visa, right? So you can always opt for jobs like that also. All the best. I wonder where you're working, where you've joined us from, Supriya. I would like to know. Let us know in the comment section. But really nice having you.
That's right. And thank you so much, Supriya, for putting up this very interesting question. And I think, Napasa, you should go ahead and take up Nayan's one.
Sure. Nayan is saying, in prevailing situation, if you can not stay out of the country for a longer period, remote work overseas may not be of much use. Employees themselves are not moving out of the country. Very true, Nayan, and especially right now, when things are changing, where they really need to prove their active status or that they're extraordinary at their work, and they really need to also prove that employers need them. So yes, right now nobody's really opting to even travel because they just want to be safe and stay out of any sorts of risks or extra burden. Why take unnecessary risks, right?
Yeah,
So you're absolutely right. Right now, many employees and employers also, they are really not traveling much outside the US. Not because they can't, but yes, they are looking for the better time to travel, rather, I would say. So they're not
that's
traveling right now. Yes,
absolutely.
Nayan, good one.
I think,
So
yeah, Nayan has put up a great point, and that too, he put up a very practical point because current situations are quite tougher and a little stricter, because they have to those who are already working in the US. I mean, they are also
yeah.
facing certain problems in the port of entry.
Yeah, and not
So,
just that, Sam, like it could also be like today, maybe you have decided, yes, let me just go home, go back to my home country. And maybe once you reach the next day itself, you get to know there is change, and
yeah,
it could actually, become burdensome for you. So, just in order to avoid all that, we're just trying to make things settle down a bit, know better what are the changes that are coming up, because every day we hear new updates, right?
yeah.
And it's so hard to catch up sometimes.
That's right. That's right. And I think this time it is very uncertain. Every day we are waking up with something new, change or new policies. So it is better advisable, friends, and it's not only from our side. The attorneys, they themselves are, advising to the immigrants that it's better not to travel, stay wherever you are right now. And doesn't matter if you're H1B, F1, or green card applicants. It is better to stay wherever you are right now. I mean, like, especially for the time, if everything has been settled, just stick to it and just keep on following the laws and rules. And if you are going to go ahead with, each pointers, then there's nothing to harm to you. And with that, Nayan, thank you so much for your comment. And let me take up Sanjay's as well. So,
Sure.
hi, Sanjay, and thank you so much for participating in this webinar. Yeah, Napasa, you were saying something.
No, no, I was just saying, yes, sure, go ahead with Sanjay's comment.
Okay. All right, all right. So Sanjay is saying, I'm interested in working remotely for a US based company. That's great. But I'm not a US citizen or resident. Do I still need to obtain a US work visa, or are there tax implications or other considerations that I should be aware of even if I'm working remotely from outside the US? So I think this is quite confusing, Sanjay, because if you want to get like if you want to have a work visa, US work visa, then you have to like if you want to work in the US, not remotely, then you need to have a work visa. But generally, I think people do work, with the US based companies in different areas, and that too remotely. But I'm not very much sure regarding this question. So
I think it'll depend, which company, and if the company also has an office in your home country. How are you planning? Because he's saying he's interested in working remotely for a US based company. But, just like Supriya had mentioned, there are companies who are offering remote jobs where you can work for the company from, your preferred location remotely. But he's also saying that he's not a US citizen or a resident. Does he still need to obtain a US work visa, or are there tax implications or other considerations? Yes, you should. I mean, and if I'm working remotely from outside the US, that'll totally depend what job it is, and if that job is doable completely remotely, because there are jobs, which definitely require your presence in the field of work also, practically speaking, and if jobs are such, I think it may not be that possible. But if it's a job where all the duties, your KRA, everything is doable from home, then I think there should not be much complications. But again, there will be company policies and so many things to keep in mind. And like you said, also tax implications, other considerations. So, Sanjay, maybe you might have to be more specific. This was a little way too general, but yeah, I think yes, company policies do matter also if you're
And
talking about.
generally also talking, I think Napasa, it's nothing that you need to have a work visa if
Yeah,
you want to work, on a US based company, because there are so many people whose companies are based in US, but their
right.
employees are working from India or, different
Yeah,
countries.
just like Supriya was saying, that's what I was saying.
Exactly.
If
So
it's a
yeah,
job
that's
like
okay.
that, you can.
Mhm. That's okay, Sanjay. I mean, it's not that you need to have a US work visa, but in case, if you are on a visa category, and then if you want to work remotely for a few
Yeah.
weeks or few months, then for that you need to have a proper, requirements, or then you have to go with the instructions. But if you want to work like this and if you're interested, then go ahead. There's nothing stopping you, and good luck. Hope so that you find a
Yeah.
good job and your interested, role. And I think Napasa here, Crystal is also here. I think let's take up this one as well.
Sure. Hi, Crystal. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. Good to have you. So, Crystal is saying on H1B visa, what are the rules of working remotely? Are there issues in renewing the H1B extension? So we did actually go through it some time back, and if possible, do give it a check. We spoke about H1B, but not about the extensions. So maybe yes, extensions anyway. They are facing some sort of issues where um, not issues really. In fact, just some time back when we had the webinar with Attorney Justin Rivera, he was saying like, if it's for the same job role and it's an extension, I don't think there's much problem or explanation or extra things that you need to do. But if your job role changes or there are additional additions to your job role, then you might need to prove that as well. For your extension, that is for your second term, right? For the extension of another 3 years, right? You're talking about, Crystal. So, yes, I think what I can suggest is you can also go watch the webinar we had with Attorney Justin Rivera sometime back at 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Immigration Talk Show. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you should find your answer there as well.
That's right. That's right. That will be one of the best advice we can give Crystal. But anyways, thank you so much that you watching this session, participating in this session. It really means a lot for us. And also for you, let me tell you that it is daily immigration doors that we come up live from Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. EDT. And it's me, Sam, with my co-host Nipasa, and we do come up with such interesting topic, so that viewers like you come up with questions and we can address those questions to our attorneys. and we will have a great discussion on that. So, Crystal, go ahead and ask another question, and soon we are going to take up that question too. Okay, yes, and Crystal is saying thank you so much for the response. I will watch. Of course, it would be a good one, and let us know also how was the session and what other questions you want to know from the immigration attorney. Okay, so I
Yes.
think now, Napasa, it's almost time, and we have completed a lot of comments and a lot of topics also that we have shared in this video. So I think let's conclude, or would you like to add on something to it?
I mean, that's it, I think, because if we touch up on other topics, we will go on talking for another hour. And I know the friends out there, there is so much to actually learn and discuss. We are also learning new things every day with all these new changes.
That's
And
right.
Crystal, thank you so much also, for joining us. I hope that you really benefit from the webinar. But please feel free to even drop your questions if you have any more questions, drop it in the questions in the comment section. We will make sure that we come to you with answers, or whenever we have discussions with attorneys, join us to ask your question, because it's best, because you can even call in and ask your question to the attorneys directly, and they'll be able to give you the best answers. So yes, thank you so much once again for joining us here. It was lovely having you, and your question also. And don't forget to subscribe. All of you folks out there watching us right now, subscribe now if you haven't as yet. And also share our channel, our content with your friends and family who could benefit best from our content. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show, and we're not just on YouTube, but we are also on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and on Instagram. Check us out and stay connected with us.
That's right. And thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And do participate in our webinar as we come up live from Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. EDT. If you have any question or want to know anything else about the topic, then please let me know in the email ID, as my email ID is sam@staffingly.com. And you can also ask question to Nipasa also by sharing her the question or message on her email ID, that is nipa@staffingly.com. So I think that's it. And Napasa, it was a good session, a very productive one, very insightful one. So, friends, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Immigration Talk Show. Also, join us tomorrow, same time, same platform, with the same host. And see you tomorrow. Good luck, everyone, and take care.
Bye bye.